Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go! Annie, Grit and Gravitas, here we are, episode 4. Can you believe it?
And Deeter Gallaher, good morning.
Good morning.
It's always so great to see you. You need people in your life where you just look at them and you feel better.
Wow.
Thank you. Especially now, right? Especially now.
And our deep desire for our listeners is to really give them 30 minutes of insight and inspiration and inspiring spirited stories of success.
Burning desire
to
do that, which is the entire mission and premise for Grit and Gravitas. So I have a quick question. What do you do on a morning where you're just not feeling it? Where you're just not on your A game? Because we love A's.
Well, yes, we do. I'm going to tell you from 20 years of business ownership experience, you just get up and you go through what you know your duties for the day are. It isn't really, I don't show up because I feel like it. You show up for the day prepared to do whatever battle you need to do that day for business success and put one foot in front of the other. And that's kind of our topic today. And I'm super excited because you're going to surprise us you're going to give me a story that I've not heard before.
Many people haven't heard.
But we're going to focus on, and we'll have more episodes of this because we have more experiences in this realm, is on talk a little bit about one of your biggest disappointments or setbacks. And we're not new to business. We're not new to executive leadership. So we probably will have a lot of these stories, but I always feel that younger generations or young men and women new to business can certainly benefit and learn from other stories, people's paths who went ahead of them. Did they turn right? Did they turn left? What did they wish they had known? And what should they have done? So do you want to share just one of your biggest setbacks or biggest disappointments?
I would say setback.
Okay.
And we talked to Nancy Ryan in episode 3, who had a cataclysmic setback.
Yes.
Very raw.
Recent, yes.
Maybe too recent. Because my point is, mine happened to me when I was 30 years old. I took a detour out of broadcasting and bought a business.
So broadcast sales in Pennsylvania.
Right. So I had started when I was still a senior at Shippensburg. So now we're talking 11 years later. And I built my first house when I was 21. Went to the bank, pitched them on buying me, didn't want anyone's help, didn't want anyone's money. If I was going to fail, I was going to fail forward on my own.
I like that, fail forward.
But, built half the house. So the upper floors I would finish as I had cash, which I'm 100% commission. It fluctuates.
So you were single at the time?
Single. Didn't get married till I was 36.
Okay.
At 30, I buy what is an apparel business, but it also has this fashion component, and thought, I'm going to own my own business. Spectacularly failed.
Are you still doing sales at the time? Or you bought the business and you had left sales?
Left broadcasting.
Okay.
Right. First time I left a career, seemingly going really well. Fast forward, lost everything. Lost my home. Lost every last penny I had. Lost
Annie, oh my.
Everything. So that entire head start, if you will,
from college,
gone. Very, very few people know that. To the point where I had to find somewhere to live. So I call the same builder of the house I'm in, and say, this one's been empty over here for forever, would I be able to move in there, do a sort of a dollar amount to purchase, lease to purchase? Mm-hmm. If in this many months I can't come up with financing and the money to do this, you will keep everything I've given you, which was a little more in rent, to get to the down payment. So, and then I was right back up. So the bankruptcy, man, I would get home and have probably 10, 15, 20 people on my answering machine.
Oh, my word.
Looking for money. But completely wiped me out.
So the bankruptcy, which is the B word, that's a huge life event for a young person, for any person. And for people listening, there may be people who are in the midst of that because of the pandemic, who all of a sudden never saw, a wrecking ball coming, and they're experiencing that. So you're in this at a very, very young age, no safety net for you. And then you negotiate, your first step out of that with the builder. Okay, continue on.
My heart is pounding out of my chest, and that's 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But yesterday on LinkedIn, I posted an article that your biggest setback is the path to your biggest comeback. And
that's great.
I ferociously went back to what I knew, essentially appreciated it more. Now this is 25 years later, but what it really did, and for me, is cement the fact that I didn't enjoy having my own business. I didn't like aspects of it that actually overshadowed what I did enjoy. And we talked about every small business needs a salesman.
Yes.
And that's what I accelerate in. That's my lane. I build relationships. Yeah. I acquire relationships that are going to produce revenue. And really, that's the persuasion of sales. Back in that, better than ever. And then what do I do 10 years ago? I give it all away again and say, I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to go to Universal Media to see if I can, halfway through my career, do something on a national level. That challenge has to be built into me. I have a high motor, work very, very hard.
You define high gear.
And I understand that no risk it, no biscuit. But I'm telling you, Ian, there wasn't a single person in my life who hadn't thought I'd lost my mind. People are like, who, and what is Universal Media? What even is that? And what do you mean they're in Mechanicsburg? How can they be that if they're in Mechanicsburg? Like, to this day, people say, how good can you be if you're in Mechanicsburg?
Sleeping giant, under the radar. You're helping with that, to uncover the brilliance and the people at Universal Media. And I would just say to you, sitting here today, those days in the aftermath of that were a blur. Yeah.
But there were key people.
I was going to say, did you have a inner circle who was willing to give you fresh perspective, excuse me, or encouragement, or who did you go to first?
I would say, my mom, but the bottom line is the attorney I had every single day. Don't worry about the calls. Don't even listen to them. They're all going to come to me. We're going to be fine. We're going to come out of this. We. And so just imagine that one word, from you to we, presents that you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And for someone who was to stand fiercely independent, went my own way, just a hot mess sometimes of just... the dog's running through the living room and they think, oh, we're great. And then meanwhile, the coffee table's knocked over, vases are coming off, drinks are sloshing around. I had this sort of just incredible energy that just had to be guided. And I still, to this day, risk a lot. in minimal ways. But I don't think if you're not risking, you're growing or you're learning.
No, totally agree with that. So you're, how many people did you tell about your bankruptcy?
And everyone in my life. There was no way to hide it, nor would I want to. My transparency, I'm probably a lot more open about that than I am the success. But I do think the perception is she's really successful, and that's a fact. But I think when it's an inside job, when it's coming from me, motivation, and look, in sales, you have sort of paper cuts all the time.
I love that. You do. It's not going to be death by paper cuts, but you do have paper cuts.
It's not going to be death by paper cuts. And essentially, I don't ever want to make a mistake that's fatal. I don't want to hurt anyone.
No, right.
And so you have to surround yourself with people you trust that are competent, super smart. And that really goes back to, owning my own business. I mean, I feel as if every, employee is mine, but it's not, I don't own it. And I have the best relationships, ironically, with the people that I know the least about what they do, which is what? Our CFO, numbers, analytics,
right,
data reporting. And I'm great example because you have to do the reporting where even I understand it. And if I understand it, anybody's going to understand it. And so it's easy 25 years later, at the height of my success,
right,
to say that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. But I do believe everything happens for a reason. And even then I didn't know the why, but now I know exactly why.
And it's good that your perspective, even at such a young age, it would be easy to be so consumed that you feel you can't see your way out of this. So you're 30. Little did you know, you talk about a comeback, little did you know the C-suite was waiting for you years later, and that you would use the lessons learned there. So you're similar to Milton Hershey. We talked about that before. You go down into a pit and you come up for air. You seek the right people to surround you, to listen to you, to be counsel to you. And then you see, you don't know exactly where you're going to land in the future, but you know you're going to land on your feet. And that's that's a contagious optimism about you, which I think is a common thread through business success. We don't know what tomorrow holds. And you live in a world of contracts. I do too. Retainers, if you would, they're irrelevant because pandemics come, and there's no amount of contract that guarantees you success or long-term relationships.
Sales or no sales, there aren't any guarantees.
Yeah.
And now I say to people, are you brave or are you acting brave? What the world sees is brave.
Right.
And I get scared. Probably when I get the most intense is when I'm the most scared. Yeah. And I think what that did more than anything at 30 is say, you know what, you really need people, because at that point, I thought, I got this.
Well, you're one of those people, though, I love to have in the room. I know that things are going to be okay if you're in the room. It doesn't, I don't depend on, you in our conversations or business relationship to know exactly where we're going to end up. But I know, and there's a cadre of people that I surround myself with that I know I'm safer with them. I don't have all the answers, but I know many people who have answers, and they're different, a different lens than I have. And I think that's very important to surround yourself with people who have a fresh, optimistic perspective. You can't stay down in that pit. You can't wallow in that very long. So you knew you're going to come out of this. You had no idea where you would land, but your very DNA, you knew, I'm going to find the right people that are going to give me a hand up or open the right doors and would be part of my team, if you would.
I tell people about universal media, and I see, we don't have all the answers. And I think someone who says they do runs screaming. So I know, I got the music cranked, the sunroof open, and like, want to ride with me? People are like, I think that's the most alive I can be for what the Lord gave me to spread on the earth. I absolutely believe I'm here for a reason. And when I look at the people, the greatest gift to impact people, to grow, to amplify, to see them get married and have kids, it's just extraordinary for me. Way more fulfilling than what I myself do. So you can't manufacture that. You can't pretend that. That's the authenticity. But it's also like Annie, don't you have somewhere else to be? Like, ooh, you're intense. You're driven. Like, don't you see what I see?
Yeah.
And
I find that very refreshing. You know, I'm not in your office with you when your intensity is probably at its highest.
The whole office hears it, I'll tell you that, which probably isn't real great.
But we depend on that in a leader. You know, you're not going to think of generals. You know, you have to have a team that says, I want to go where she's going. You know, a team that believes in you and trusts in your decisions. Not that you have all the answers, but that you're going to lead them to a safe place.
What's interesting now to me, looking back on this, because we're talking about this, and as you know, I'm not a big rear view mirror driver. Right. Hopefully not a lot of people are. But I essentially know now from someone who felt like they didn't need a lot of people, and I'm still not great at needing people, which isn't attractive. And so what I know now, without question, is I would not be the same person if I stepped away from my current team.
Yeah, good.
I would be less of who I am. Mm-hmm. I would be more distraught. Setbacks would impact me more.
That's a good point.
And part of it is when someone chooses to move on from the company.
Do you take that personally?
I don't take it. I used to take it personally. And now I think, well, wait a minute. Who wouldn't want our people? I have
That's
to
a great
focus.
Changing perspective. That's a great perspective.
I mean, and that, pivot was the word of 2020.
Who wouldn't want our people?
Who wouldn't want our people? I won't go anywhere else because I want to be with our people. And that's part of the premise of why I think we're the best. We're the most fantastic, but we're not if it's not the right partner.
Right.
If it's not the right person for the relationship, we may date, but the best thing that happens is we never get married. And I think the longer the engagement, the longer the marriage. And so, for someone who's like, hurry up, speed, yeah, that can be disastrous. Yeah. And the other day, my owner says to me, like my friend, he waits a week before he has a lot of passion to send an email. I'm like, I wait about a month. Yeah. So time and letting things come to you has been an extraordinarily difficult thing for me to learn. Yeah. And everything happens for a reason. So why, when someone leaves, isn't that for a reason? So now I look at it as a chance to upgrade skill sets.
That's such a great perspective. And I'm gonna take that. And
to add more of a hybrid. When you try to control people, I think that leads to just very limited interactions. Like, you'll do this and only this. So I really am thankful I'm not a micromanager. People, my department head, my leaders have to make decisions. They have to coach and nurture people. And I'm there to take every obstacle in that out of the way. And without question, if I hadn't had that experience at 30,
yeah,
nothing would be the same now. Nothing. I mean, that sort of wake-up call,
yeah,
saved me. And now I know exactly what I need from people. And that's a lot more gratifying. But you want to talk job security, I don't want to go anywhere without my guys. I don't want to, which you're starting to meet more
right.
of. And that's really the career life lesson. So don't worry about me in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to get up tomorrow
right.
morning if this wouldn't work out for whatever reason. And I'm going to be like, ooh, what do I do today? I got to lie. It's like my own day. Am I this? Am I that? And that's the trade-off. But I do know that it profoundly impacted me to change in ways and grow.
Yeah.
Nothing short of that epic failure would have paved the way to the comeback 25 years later. It's a journey.
It is a journey. It's a great lesson that you're willing to share with others. And my, quick pivot to my story. And we have totally different paths to leadership. We talked about that in the first 2 episodes. So again, backstory, start my business at age 40, stay-at-home mom for 15 years. So that's not a traditional path to business ownership. Very similar to you, I'm not adverse to risk. I like to have guarantees. We don't have them. But I don't mind betting on myself. I feel that I'd rather bet on myself than, bet on a CEO that I might work for, like in a company. So this is year 21 for Deeter Gallaher Group. So we've had our fair share of setbacks and comebacks and circuitous routes to success. And many of our clients are long-term clients. And communication channels change with time. We had clients that were pre-Twitter. I mean, it seems like a million years ago, pre-Google. So several years ago, I had a really good relationship with a client. It was a larger client, long-term retainer. And this individual invited me to lunch. And it was, I think probably I was halfway through my salad. And they said, you know what, we're going to go a different route. We've see a different situation. This is where we're going to go. Thanks so much. So, and I write about emotional resilience in Women in High Gear. And I've confessed to you before, I haven't been able to acquire all the emotional resilience I need, but I'm sitting there at lunch.
Gut punch, sitting there at lunch, wanting everything to do in me either wants to leave immediately. I've absolutely lost my appetite. Yes. Flee.
I've lost my appetite. I want to get out of the situation. I'm trying to figure how could I continue with small talk or continue the relationship, trying not to take it personally. And I absolutely take it all personally for the firm. Scrambling to find answers. So if you own a business, you will have setbacks. You will lose relationships. People change. We're a people business, and things don't last forever. And we said in Women in High Gear that situations are never as fabulous as you thought that they were, and conversely, they're never as bad as you imagined they were. So coming out of that, it was a comeback of a different sort from you, but you realize when you wake up the next day, like, okay, I made it. That was awful. And I'm not quite sure where the replacement's going to come through for that client. What are we going to do? I had people that worked for me. I had a lease. But here's a special note to anyone listening. Never close those types of doors, because that door opened again for me later. There's no sense in, you can't be angry and you can't harbor like what happened or a woe is me situation. The door opened again with the same individual several times. So, business in each client's business, we don't have, we're not privy to all going on in their strategy and their decisions, but we wait in the wings, even on pitches that we make to clients that we didn't get. We send thank yous. We say, thanks so much for the opportunity to learn about your company. And again, other times I've had other clients where we came back after we lost a pitch to a different firm. This CEO came back around and said, for the first 6 months, that really wasn't what we thought. We really want to work with Deeter Gallaher Group. And so if we had burned any bridges or, had sent emails like that were disingenuous, we wouldn't have had that opportunity. So again, just have the perspective setbacks are going to come. You're not being realistic if you don't think they are.
And part of what I hear is one of the biggest counterintuitive parts to business. And we're not supposed to take it personally. But if you have passion, you have conviction, you have loyalty. Where is all that going to come from if it's not personal?
Right.
But then when we lose, we're supposed to immediately
See, we're both competitive. We don't like to lose.
Well, and then when we do lose, we're supposed to immediately detach from that, take all of that high energy, emotional suitcase and just sort of sit it here and go, it's good. We'll see you down the road. But you have to.
Yeah.
You have to lose with grace.
You do.
And I read something yesterday. I want to say Buddha said it. I send out a quote every day for all the people I can't say good morning to. And the essential part of it is, anger's like swallowing a toxic sort of poison, and then you want it to hurt the other person. Well, when you're swallowing toxicity and letting it live in you, guess who it hurts?
Right.
Only one person.
Right.
And when you talk about, disengaging, you're also disengaging your entire team, so you hurt for them.
And you have to lead. So your specific example with the bankruptcy, it was affecting you first and foremost. But when you, obviously as CEO of Universal Media and me of Deeter Gallaher Group, our team is watching how we respond. They are watching that
Great point, Ann.
That type of vulnerability. Like, what is Annie going to do next if client A, that we invested all this time and energy and strategy in, what if that took a left turn? And, my employees are watching, like, how is Ann? Is this awful? How awful is this? They are waiting to read my mind. So when we get up the next day and we switch our perspective to a positive, not that we have all the answers, but the body follows the mind. And when you train the mind, like, how am I going to see this? And if you don't have my business vitamin for our listeners today, if that doesn't come naturally to you to be a glass half full, surround yourself. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's another business colleague that you're a mentor with. Go right to that person and say, I need fresh perspective. I need you to remind me why this opportunity, a new opportunity will come. You cannot stay mired in the glass half empty.
If you're going to be hired, you're going to be fired.
There we go.
Unless or until
you're so full of these nuggets.
Someone understands that you cannot win them all. I can't.
We like to win them all, but
we do like to win them all. But now I'm much more into words, communication. No one's going to have to tell me it's not going well.
And I think we know in our gut, if you would, there are signs and signals. Very rarely, except for a pandemic, do you get a torpedo that you weren't reading signs and signals.
I think that's 100% self-awareness and being able to look in the mirror and say, "Ooh, I didn't do so hot with that."
Right.
And my entire, a lot of my premise is we're not going to be perfect. Thank goodness we don't write that into the contract. We're going to make mistakes. And that's why the courtship, if you will, and when you think about what are the intentions if you're dating, if one person intends to get married and the other person intends, oh, no, not, that's probably a point of departure.
Right.
And now I completely have changed the dynamic of looking for the partner I know is the best partner for us, almost like Match.com, versus anyone, because that toll it takes on my team is the indication of how much respect I have for my team. That I brought someone, and imagine the difference between partner and client.
Yeah.
Partner sounds a whole lot like a relationship.
Great choice of words.
A client feels sterile. Right. It feels like it's a commodity, come and go. I want what you want, which is really long-term relationships. Look how you've grown from a partner that didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't have Twitter. We don't have Twitter. Imagine saying, "Yep, wherever this goes, Ann and her team are going to figure that out."
Great.
There's an ability to use words, and I'm always going, "How's our real?" I'm almost like a partner counselor. How are we doing? What could we be doing better?
Right.
But they have to know in me that when they tell me, when that criticism comes, I'm going to do something about it, not get defensive, not say, what are you, crazy? Yeah. We're great and you're not. Or I'm Solomon, right? I'm bringing everybody into the middle.
So great perspective. Our 30 minutes, we could go on for 2 more hours, but there's lots of great stories to come. So the fresh perspective from both of our setbacks into a comeback, keep that spirit of optimism, surround yourself, spend time with optimistic people that give you a fresh perspective.
Let them help you.
Yes.
100%.
And keep your grace. It's a better day. Have a high gear day. Annie Carnathan, I am better for spending time with you.
Right back at you, Aunt Gallaher. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.